guys, so I just recently got my yoga instructor certification and I thought I would tell you guys a little bit about it. So I got my certification through AFPA, which is where I got my certification for holistic nutrition. I just kind of want to share my experience of the course itself if you're looking into the AFPA yoga instructor certification. And I also like to share my experiences with these certifications because I hope that it'll just kind of show that there's so many different ways that you can learn. And I'm somebody who has chosen not to go to college, and there's just so many different ways that we can learn that are not college. So I'll just start with why I chose to do a yoga certification. So I have been doing yoga, just practicing it on my own really, for about like 5 or 6 years. I've done yoga primarily through YouTube, through Yoga with Adriene, and I love her. She just has such great videos. I've done so many of her 30-day challenges that she does at the beginning of each year, and just so many of her individual classes, and I just developed such a love for yoga and a relationship with it. Like, it was a practice that really had my back, that really has my back, and that has helped me to know myself more. And it's almost something that's hard to explain. Like, I've heard people say this type of thing before and it just sounds so like, what does that even mean? But it's really been something that has been a practice of support, like a ritual of support to me in all throughout the time I've been doing it. So what I really want to do with my education post high school is to just give time to the things that I really care about. And I really love yoga, so I wanted to learn more about it. And I've already kind of been in this like health and wellness world with holistic nutrition. So it was just a natural progression for me to go from my holistic nutrition certification into a more physical practice that supports health. That's kind of why I decided to do it. And I'll also say too that my intention going into it was not necessarily to become a yoga instructor, which might seem kind of funny. I really went into the course with the intention of expanding my knowledge on yoga. Like I said too, I'm using these programs, certification programs, and self-studies that I'm doing as my form of education. So that's kind of like why I'm using it in this way, or why I've used it in this way, to just expand my knowledge. And it's cool to like kind of gather these certifications, and then it gives me a lot of options, and it also just expands my knowledge. So anyway, I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about what the course is like. So the course itself is separated into 3 books. The first book is called Instructing Hatha Yoga. I have written down like the general gist of each book, so you guys kind of have an idea of what each one was about. So Instructing Hatha Yoga, you learn about a variety of different styles of Hatha Yoga and key aspects of the practice of yoga, like the 8 limbs of yoga, different elements of teaching yoga, learning styles, creating a class environment, pranayama, energy and anatomy, chakras, bandhas, sun salutations, and then a big chunk of the book goes into specifics on poses and proper alignment within different poses, and then how you can adjust a student in those poses. So this book was definitely a good foundational book to start with. And then the second book was called A Journey into Yin Yoga. So this book focuses solely on the practice of Yin Yoga, which is a type of yoga that's slow paced and where the poses are held for a long period of time. And it's known for promoting self-healing and has a big focus on the fascia. So you get a really good deep dive into Yin Yoga and into the origins of yoga, and also Taoism, subtle anatomy, which is like energetic anatomy, the science of yin, so like what's really physically happening in your body when you're practicing yin yoga. And then there were parts on pranayama and meditation. I found this book the most enjoyable to read. I feel like it really expanded my view on yoga overall. So I really enjoyed this book. There was a huge focus on yin, but like I said, like a lot of it was also origins of yoga and kind of like the deeper parts of yoga, kind of the spiritual parts of yoga, and like the self parts of yoga, like the growth parts and the inner evolution that happens. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain because there's so many different aspects to it, but that was a great book. The third book was Yoga Therapy. So this book focuses on the importance of doing yoga in alignment with you, your entire self and your needs. It repeatedly goes over a therapy technique of identification, differentiation, and integration, and how you can identify old movement patterns, differentiate them, and integrate them to create more effective and supportive movements. And I found this therapeutic technique really applicable to so many different things beyond just like differentiating and changing physical patterns. Like, it's so helpful for the mind too. So I found that just so inspiring and hopeful, and I really liked this book. It also goes over the movement system, connecting the brain to the body, renewing and developing new patterns, developing focus and mindfulness, preventing injury, the effect of thoughts on the body, which I thought was so interesting, and has a whole bunch of variations on traditional poses. I just love how it has this focus on making yoga your own and not forcing yourself into poses that just aren't physically like possible for you, or like the specific way that you're like taught to do it properly might not be how you are able to hold that pose. And I just found it freeing. It's like, oh, I can do this in a way that works for me. And I don't know, there's just something so empowering about that. And I think it just like breaks down walls in your personal practice to kind of have freedom over how you interact with yoga. And, you know, like you're in charge of your practice, not what somebody else says would be right for you. I don't know. I just think that was really cool and empowering. So yeah, that's the 3 books. So of course you're also doing yoga practices throughout the certification as well. So they have video-based yoga practices, and I really liked them. You do a lot of yoga. And I really felt and do feel now, like I see and feel how much like my practice has evolved because I was able to try so many types of yoga and also have multiple different instructors and see like their teaching techniques and the effects of that. So the video-based yoga is really good and I really enjoyed it. So you have the books, you have the video-based yoga practices, and then you have assignments for each book. You also log your classes. So you have like each class, each yoga practice, and you take notes kind of like on your experience or things you just want to take note of for each class, for each yoga practice that you do. So then you turn in your yoga log at the end of it too. I think that's generally the course itself. And then of course at the end you have your certification exam. I'll show you guys like how I kind of set up my binder. This is what I've done for the certifications that I've done. I like having a binder because by the end then you have all this information just like beautifully in a binder, and easy to access, easy to kind of refresh yourself on or get inspiration from. Basically, I have a binder. I like to get something that I think is pretty. I got a nice binder and I ordered this cool sticker off Etsy. I just like to like put intention into my study stuff. So I have like a nice binder that makes me feel like, yes, this is a legit thing. And then I have just dividers, and I divide each book or whatever, like sort of unit type thing, depending on the course I'm doing. Then everything's just super neat. And then by the end, you can print out your certification, put it in your binder, and it's just like, feels like completion. So that's kind of how I set up my binders for my certification courses that I've done. Like I said, I just finished this course in September of 2022. It took me about 5 or 6 months, I'm not sure exactly. It was kind of the thing that I was solely focusing on. I definitely could have done it faster, but I really wanted to just truly go at my own pace because it's just like not effective for me to do a bunch of yoga classes in a day. So I truly just went at my own pace, and I totally had enough time. I think you have 6 months. It's definitely very doable. You just have to work on it every day. The course itself is laid out well and it's easy to follow, and it's just putting in the time to read, do the practices, do the assignments. It's very doable and enjoyable, I would say, for the most part. Overall, I really had a good experience with this yoga instructor certification through AFPA. I definitely achieved my personal goal of learning more about yoga and expanding my personal practice of yoga. I would say that the downside to a online yoga instructor certification course is that you're not getting instructor experience. You're not getting that instructor experience, you're not getting that teaching experience integrated into this program. So if you're going the route of like truly wanting to be a yoga instructor, which I'm sure so many people are when they're taking this course, obviously, you would have to seek that out on your own. You know, do that in whatever way that would work for you, whether that be having classes that you hold for family or friends, or I don't know, doing something at a library or a church or a community center, or, you know, there's so many ways that you could get that instructor practice in, or if you're just already a part of a yoga studio and they can somehow, you know, help you out with that. It's definitely a program that you can use to work with your personal needs, but yes, it's true. You don't get instructor experience integrated into this program, which is obviously a big thing if you're truly going into it to instruct people. You want that practice. So I'll also say too, I did this alongside my sister, so we were doing it at the same time, which was helpful specifically for the parts in the books that go over the poses. It's just a lot easier to kind of like have one person reading out the directions on how to do the pose and how to do the modifications and the adjustments, and then like have one person do the pose and then switch off. That's what we would do. So it is nice to have a yoga buddy while you do this course. Obviously not everyone's gonna have that, but if you could have even someone who's not doing the course but who would be willing to just kind of help you out with those things, so that you can, it just makes it easier. Like it just makes it easier to do those parts. It's not necessary, but it definitely makes it more enjoyable and easier, and you can kind of just like, you know, discuss things. It makes it more interactive. But I would have still done it even if she wasn't doing it. So I hope this is helpful if you're considering this program. This is 100% just my experience. Genuinely, I'm not getting paid to say any of this or anything. Like, I just want to share my experience so that you can get an idea of what the course is like, and also to just put more ideas out there of things that you can do to learn, and you don't have to go to college or pay a ton of money to learn. There's also just so much power in learning about things you really care about, even if it's just purely for the sake of learning more about it. So for whatever reason you are here watching this, I hope that it was of value to you, and I hope that you feel inspired to do something simply because you want to. I really love the practice of yoga, and I think it's such a powerful way to connect to your body and your spirit and grow your connection with yourself and feel comfortable in your skin, and feel what power feels like and strength feels like in your body, and knowing what it feels like to surrender and stretch and just give yourself attention, give your physical body attention. I just think it's so valuable and so powerful. And I know, again, like people say these things and it's like, okay, like it doesn't mean much, but it's all like, you just have to kind of experience it for yourself. And whether that be through yoga or whatever your physical practices are, there's so much good in that. I did do a little yoga flow that I have on my YouTube channel. If you want to check it out, I'll link it. It's a flow for balance and grounding that I created as a way to help me with anxiety, and specifically dizziness and vertigo related to anxiety. It's been a really helpful practice for me, so check that out if you're interested. And yeah, I'm not necessarily going to be a yoga instructor, but I see how it influences so much of me, and maybe I'll lead some classes someday. I could see it expanding into more, and I could totally see myself leading classes and having confidence in that. So I think that speaks to the course and also just having a connection with something. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to me, and I will see you later. I'm planning on filming a video kind of like this for my birth mentorship certification that I did this year too, that I never talked about. So subscribe so you don't miss that, and give this video a like if you found it helpful, and let me know down below if you have any questions. I'm sure I missed things that maybe you're curious about. or any thoughts, ideas, your personal experience with yoga or any type of physical practice, just let me know. Tell me something down below. I love getting comments. So I'm excited to hear from you guys. I'll see you guys later. Have a great day. Bye.